Like, let's be so for real. Like, they're not gonna hit Mitsurugi just because it's good. What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm gonna be talking about the updates to the OCG and East Asian ban lists for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. We're gonna talk about the ban list philosophy, what these changes mean for the future of the game. We'll talk about what decks are gonna be good in the formats moving forward, and let's just jump right into it. So here we are with both ban lists, and I'm not gonna lie, like, when I first saw both of these, I didn't actually react that well. I'm glad I had like a day to process before giving my reactions. I'll go through each of the hits individually, but I'm really more concerned with like the game design element of what this ban list is trying to do for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to talk about that, so I'm gonna like probably rush through the individual hits, but you guys can read the screen. So in OCG, we have a banning of Closed Moon, Splash Mage, Red Ransom, and Baguska. We have a limitation of Ice Ryziel, Maxi, Dracotail Mululu, Yummy Marshmallow, Yummy Snatchy, Pre-Prep, Called By, Totally Awesome, and Metamorphosis. We have a semi-limitation of Ash Blossom, Sprite Starter, Judgment, and Dominus Impulse. And we have a return to 3 for Astrograph, Eclipse Wyvern, Ball Drake, one of the Rescue Ace quick play spells, Pot of Desires, Sleepy Memory, and the Kashtira Field spell. In East Asian English, we have no bans. Instead, we have a limitation of Cupsy Yummy, Jokel, Malice March Hare, Malice White Rabbit, Herald of the Arclight, Katu, Malice Field Spell, Obedient Schooled, Pre-Prep, Gozen, and Rivalry. And then semi-limited, we have Ash, Ice Ryziel, Izuna, Maxi, Razen, and Snatchy. And then back to 3, we have Cyberjar, Desires, Sleepy Memory, and Snatch Steal. Okay, so foundationally, what does the list do? We're trying to obviously power down the best decks in the format, whether that's Malice, or Dracotail, or Yummy. We don't have any direct hits to Mitsurugi, but the deck does see consistency hits with the Pre-Prep hit and with the Herald hit in East Asia, and pure variants will suffer from Dominus Impulse going to 2, but I still think the deck is going to be really strong, and it definitely was a blind spot on this list, probably because of its recency and its printing over there. I feel like Konami is tired of trying to balance Malice, and so they're just going to ban Red Ransom or try to make it so inconsistent to get to that like you can't play a Malice deck, you have to play a Malice package in your Cyber Link deck, and maybe that's a healthier place for it to exist, but I don't really know like what interactions are we planning to end on, and like what routes are the Malice players using to get there, and what does Konami want Malice to look like in the format. I guess those would all be questions I have as a result of these hits. And then as far as Yummy goes, like I don't really understand. I think everyone is saying it, like pure Yummy really isn't that big of a problem, and so for them to only have one Snatchy kind of shoehorns them into this place where now you have to play Yummy plus something. But the whole reason that Yummy had to be hit in the first place was because people were playing Yummy plus something, and so it kind of just like speaks to a design flaw, unfortunately, even though Yummy's really cool. And as far as hitting Dracotail goes, like I think it's justified because of the individual power of all of the cards. I would rather see Konami hit individually powerful proactive cards than gameplay defining cards like Femena. Like the Izuna hit on East Asia is a little disheartening for this reason. It is the most generic of any in-engine hand trap for an archetype. But yeah, like regarding Dracotail, I think these hits are probably justified because the new branded stuff is actually quite good in the Dracotail deck, and the new Albaz retrain is strong. The deck can play like Fusion Deployment Cartesia to replace the Mululus you were playing in the list until now. I think that the deck is least impacted by these hits out of like Yummy, Malice, Dracotail. I think Dracotail is hit the least, which is kind of interesting because if you remember from my video on whether or not we need a ban list here in the TCG, you'll recall that in the OCG, Dracotail actually did have the most representation in the format at the time that this list was being ideated by Konami. It's just kind of tough when they like print these decks that change the way we play the game, and they change the way that we play the game for the better, like at least with Dracotail, and I think like K9 and Yummy have the potential to be good for the game. It's more like the hybrid strategies because they don't have any locks on them that make them difficult to balance. But then they like take 2 steps forward and then they take a step back because they're like, oh, these decks do revolutionize the game, but now they're too strong and they're homogenizing the way that people approach formats, and they're not rotating out of the game quickly enough with the way that we're printing product, and we need people to be interested in the new strategies so that we can sell the set. And it just gets messy quickly because you find yourself at this equilibrium point where you're like, finally, like the deck I'm playing feels strong but not too strong, and then like a generic support piece comes out that pushes the deck over the top, and then instead of hitting the generic support piece, they hit the archetype you're playing. And I have experienced this multiple times because I like to play meta, and I'll admit that, like I do like to play meta, But if the decks were designed with an archetypal lock to begin with, a generic piece of support wouldn't break them. Like, Malice wouldn't be so disgusting if Code Talker. It's so hard to be like, well, legacy support is a good thing, but the wrong kind of legacy support makes an archetype ban-worthy. We see it over and over and over again. And maybe Konami's solution is to print decks that are like so out of left field, or Xeno lock you so aggressively, like Cool Tune locking you only into tuners and Anycraft locking you only into summoning face down, and then they're gonna ban out all of the stuff that plays not so nicely with the generic stuff in the game. It's a hard ban list philosophy to adopt, because there's always going to be a loose end to tie off. And with cards constantly entering the card pool, unless they have really heavy locks associated with them, there's no way to just like universally check against backwards compatibility that you're not going to create something problematic inadvertently. But cards also need to be strong and meta impacting to sell sets. And what it points to is this ugly truth that like sometimes the ban list is used to sell product, and I think that we all agree that that's a bad thing and competitive integrity should come first. But in a world where we can even say that that's true, and despite that it's not reality, sometimes the ban list is used to sell product, like at least decide what you want the power level of the card game to be. For a long time, I bought into this narrative that like we were in a testing phase all the way from Zodiacs through Tear Lament, where we were trying to figure out what the value of a normal summon is, what the ceiling of the potential inside the extra deck is, what defines an archetype, what makes a synergy, is it a shared effect, is it a shared summoning condition, is it a Xeno lock. But now, I was like, okay, we're working towards archetype design gameplay, where you choose your archetype and then you fill in your non-engine, and your interaction is primarily dictated by what archetype you choose to play a deck construction. But now they're killing archetypes for the sake of generic stuff. Again. On the same list that they're killing generic stuff for the sake of archetypes. And I would say that I like wholly subscribe to the notion that the less cards there are on the ban list, the better. So the more balanced cards they can design, so the fewer cards they have to hit, the better. But that doesn't mean that not every card should be hit, right? And so like, I'll give an example. I think that they are doing a good job by getting rid of Maxi. I think they're doing a good job by getting rid of Called by the Great. I even think there's an argument that they're doing a good job of semi-limiting Dominus Impulse, because when you compare it to Dominus Purge or Dominus Spiral or Songs of the Dominators, it is just objectively stronger than the rest of the cards. So maybe for like a staple, existing at 2 is better. But Ash to 2, I like officially lost. Like this is the one thing that I cannot accept about the list. One thing that I will not accept about the list. Ash Blossom is a hard once per turn. There are so many points at combos in basically every single strong deck that exists right now and has existed for like ever. And I say forever, I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating because I'm emotional about this, but like there have been so many points to Ash during a combo in a meta deck, and we're gonna semi-limit it and it's a hard once per turn. The only thing that could convince me that this was like even close to reasonable, and it's not even reasonable, it's just a reason, is because Maxi is limited, there's this interaction in OCG of Maxi getting ashed a certain number of times a game. And they don't want the ratio of Maxi resolving negated to Ash to go up because there's fewer Maxis and the same number of Ash Blossoms. And like, oh, they hit both because it's not as palatable. Maxi is so ubiquitous in OCG that there's no way that the players would accept their Maxi not resolving as frequently. That's literally the only explanation I can come up with. And that's kind of sad. And maybe you point out like, oh, it's because modern archetypes lose to both Ash and Bell. So instead of having 3 power hand traps against main combo lines, you have 6. But that's like not even always true. And honestly, that's a good thing because decks have like 3 or 4 different ways to get to combo if they want to. The ratio of engine to non-engine, gas to interaction, should be an opportunity cost in your deck building process. And the last thing we need to take into account is this is within the context of Burst Protocol, a set in which we're getting Forbidden Crown, a card that's really good going first or second. It's like, okay, we're gonna take 2 going second cards out of main decks, 1 copy of Ash, 1 copy of Impulse, right after we print a card that's good going first. Like, can we just decide what we're focusing on with card design for like maybe 6 months so we can get the game to a place where there's like because we were getting there, where there were like 10 decks you could choose from, and they all brought something different to the table, and we didn't need a slaughter list. We just needed to like ride it out and get legacy support into the format so that things could keep up with what was existing at the time. Like, let's be so for real. Like, they're not gonna hit Mitsurugi just because it's good. So what's the point of hitting these decks just to establish a new tier 1 with Mitsu and Sky Striker? And with all that said, I think it kind of takes me back to my core contention that like this wasn't the best time for a ban list, and I understand why it happened because there is a product push, but we could have given the format a little bit more time to develop in the context of the legacy support coming out, and then make a more informed decision based on our inclinations about the direction of the game and what's right for it, because this equalization of going first and going second has been really great in my opinion, with like Femena and Izuna and the Mulcharmies making going second valuable, and then now we're like, okay, going second might be, is it too valuable? I really don't think so, because I watched a video where I think it was like Schmidt or somebody went through YCS results and saw like 10% of games were won going second when they didn't choose to. Like, okay, so let's hit Ash. But basically my request after all of this is like, please don't bring the staple hits to the TCG. If you need to bring the engine hits to sell new decks, like, so be it, it's fine. I don't think that these hits are going to outright kill any decks in the format except for maybe Malice, but who knows. I hope that the TCG list is a little bit different if and when we get it, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.